Stories are built in. It's like there's a keyhole in our brains that only accepts story shapes. It almost doesn't matter if we understand the story or not. The keyhole in our brains recognizes the shape, the emotional logic of it, and suddenly we're paying attention. We're interested. I started the Solomonica series during the pandemic. There's 8 cabinets so far. I had been experimenting with geometric ornamentation for a while, and I wanted people to see that it was more than just icing on a cake. Like these great geometry traditions, Japanese or Celtic or especially Islamic, they evolved over centuries. You can't just cut and paste. And I thought maybe a story or the sense of a story could help people see that better, even if they didn't grow up with it. I like Solomon. He's not so much an object of worship in the 3 religions of the book, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. He's more like a comic book superhero. He builds the temple, he does magic, he has an army of jinn, he speaks to animals. The only love poem in the Bible, Song of Songs, that's King Solomon. In the Talmud, the prince of demons, Ashmedai, tricks Solomon into giving him his magic ring, and then he throws it hundreds of miles away into the sea. So without his ring, Solomon is cast out into the desert, where after years of wandering as a beggar, Solomon comes to the coast, catches a fish, and when he goes to eat it, finds his magic ring in the fish's belly. So I used 2 brass poles, one for the eye, the other for the ring in its stomach. I'm Jewish, non-practicing. The Jewish aesthetic, if you can even talk so generally about such a dispersed and dislocated culture, is very tied to what's called the Moorish style, and that has its roots in 10th century Muslim rule in Spain. There was a period of relative religious tolerance then that later European Jews came to think of as a golden era. Artisans from 3 religions came together to build synagogues and churches and mosques. So if I see myself as a Jewish craftsperson, then I can see how I fit into a long lineage of Jews working within the traditions of Islamic geometry. This one's a love story. Solomon and Sheba, a famous marriage of the minds. She asks him riddles, he sings to her. It's cross-cultural. I've written his name, Suleiman, in a big Arabic Kufic script, and her name, Maada, Queen of Saba, all through it in Ge'ez, which is the canonical script of the Ethiopian church. Then in these maze-like parts in between, their names intertwine. It's not a bad thing to remember that we've been borrowing each other's styles and stories for a very long time. It's not bad to remember that we share a lot. There's a chapter in the Quran where Solomon and his army are passing through a valley, and he hears these teeny cries for help and realizes it's ants who are being crushed underfoot. So he stops and has a chat with the ant queen, and then he directs his armies to go around them. It's a story about mercy. Do you need to know any of these stories in order to appreciate the work I've done with the Solomonica cabinets? I hope not. I think it's enough just to see a pretty piece of furniture, and then hopefully you kind of lean in closer because you recognize something there. Maybe you recognize the shape of a story.